Hello, I'd like to demonstrate to you the 3-point check test of near vision. The purpose of the test is to screen for visual problems that affect vision up close or the stability of text at near. This is what I refer to as the near visual platform. The near visual platform is important because if near vision is unstable, it could have a negative impact on academic learning, as well as the development of other visual skills such as eye tracking and visual perception, which don't reach their peak level of development until well into the teenage years. The reason that we need a test like this is because most vision screening programs at school only check if there is a distance vision problem, and they don't really consider if there's a problem up close. This is important because it's the problems up close that are important for learning. This is not necessarily to say that all students that have a learning disability have a near vision problem, and if they do have a near vision problem, this is not to say that the near vision problem is necessarily the cause of the learning disability. Having said that, the test itself is very quick and easy to administer. It can be done in less than a minute, and it's targeted more towards students in the 7 to 17 age group. It can be done on younger students, however care should be taken when interpreting the findings. Although the test is primarily directed at students who are having learning difficulties, then the test could be done on students who are good readers, particularly if they're complaining of visual symptoms such as sore eyes, headaches, blurred vision, or maybe they're just avoiding reading. The test can also be used on students that have a history with head injuries such as concussion, maybe an accident in the playground or a concussion due to a sporting injury on the weekend. And that's because head injury can affect the problems that we're looking at today, but keep in mind these problems may not be assessed routinely in a general medical examination. So what exactly is the near visual platform? Well, the near visual platform means that vision must firstly be clear. That is, the words shouldn't be blurring on the page. The second thing is that vision must be single, so we don't want the words or the text breaking into two or double vision. The third thing that makes up the near visual platform is that the words must be steady, so they shouldn't be jumping or moving on the page. Based on this definition, then I think most people would agree that an unstable near visual platform is going to be disruptive to learning and therefore justifies some kind of screening process. Rather than talk about the test, however, I would like to demonstrate it to you. And I'm going to be demonstrating this in my consulting room here, but it's worth noting that the test can be carried out anywhere, ideally in a quiet place or a place with good lighting, but this may be in the school, a place such as a library or a resource room. Now, joining me today I have Jessica, who's going to be helping me out, and I should note that Jessica doesn't wear any glasses, but if a student does wear glasses either routinely or for reading, then the test should be done with glasses on. So let's take a look now at the first step. Jessica, I want you to cover one eye now with your hand. That's great. Jessica, I want you to look at these small letters here at the top of this target, and I want you to tell me when you first noticed them going blurry. How are they looking now? Are they looking okay? Still good?
Yeah.
Still good?
No, they're blurry.
Blurring there? Great. And I'm just going to do it again. Tell me when you first noticed them going blurry.
Now.
Great. And again, when you first noticed them going blurry?
Now.
Great. If you can swap over and cover the right eye. Again, I want you to look at these letters. Tell me when you first noticing them going blurry.
Now.
And again, when you first notice them going blurry. Still good?
Now.
And again.
Now.
Okay, that's great. Most students will be able to see very close. but the older the student, the further back this distance will be. In all cases, however, a student should be able to see within that 10 centimetre range. This can be checked, of course, by placing the ruler against the forehead as we showed in the demonstration. If the near-focal focus point falls outside of the 10 centimetre range, then this would suggest or indicate that there may be a problem with near focusing. If you're not sure about your findings or the test is borderline, then you can repeat the test a number of times, as the result may get a little bit worse as the visual system fatigues. Alternatively, you can repeat the test later in the day or even on another day. Finally, if the student does appear to have insufficient near focus, then this can be checked by holding up a reading lens in front of their eyes. And you can ask them to look at some text on a textbook, and in my experience, if you ask them whether the text looks clear or looks clearer, then most students will in fact give an accurate response. One advantage of doing the test at school is that the teacher can run a brief reading test with the lenses in front and get some idea as to whether the student is able to read more fluently, accurately, and so on. If the teacher feels that this makes a difference, then this information can be passed across to the optometrist at the time of the referral. Now, at this point you may be wondering how blurred vision at say 15 centimetres may be an issue for a student who normally reads at 40 centimetres. Well, this is a good question, and the reason for this is that this test assesses for a functional vision problem. That is to say that if the skill is outside of the normal range, then it won't perform as expected. So if a student goes to read, for example, they may be able to see the small print, but the skill will break down within a short period of time of them reading, and they're likely to complain of blurred vision. So it's not so much that they can't see the small detail, the issue is more that they can't sustain clear vision when they're engaged in a task that requires a concentrated effort. If we compare this with an adult who's in their 40s, then this is quite a different situation, known as presbyopia. In this case, the adults require reading lenses or progressive lenses to help them see, not because they have a functional vision problem, but because they have a physiological decline in their vision, and this is really due to age. This is what I refer to as end organ, and it has a completely different underlying basis or etiology to it than a functional near vision problem. The second test we're going to look at is the ability to turn our eyes inwards, which is what optometrists refer to as convergence. So this test is done with both eyes open, and to do this test, ask the student to look at the ball on the tip of the wand that comes in the kit, and ask them to tell you, as you move it closer towards them, when it goes double or they can see two of them. Again, start by holding the wand out at about 50 centimetres and slowly move it closer. Let me demonstrate this one for you. Jessica, I want you to look at the metal ball here, and how many balls do you see?
One.
Just the one? I want you to tell me if you see two balls. How many do you see now?
Still one.
Still one? And how about now? Still one? Now?
Still one.
And now?
Still one.
That's great. And again, I want you to tell me if you see two balls. Still one? And again. Great. Just the one ball? That's great, thanks. So what we're looking for is when the student reports seeing two balls, or if you notice that one eye is swinging out or drifting out. Now in some cases they'll be able to see right up to the tip of their nose, and they may not report double vision at all. That's perfectly fine. Ideally it should be within 7 to 8 centimetres. If it's beyond 10 centimetres, as measured by the ruler against the forehead, then this could be considered outside of the normal range. If it's borderline, then remember it can be repeated a few times or again at a later time if necessary. In some cases, a student may not converge their eyes at all, and in other cases they may simply not converge to within a normal range. In the former case, the problem may be related to the student never having learned to adequately converge or turn their eyes in. This is something to watch for in younger students. In fact, this is a problem I often see in students around about 7 or 8 years of age, and they've learned to read, but they hit a sudden plateau and they struggle to make progress because essentially they're getting double vision, but no one perhaps has thought to look as to how they're using their eyes when they read. Another reason for poor convergence is a breakdown of the binocular vision. So this can be due to putting a significant amount of effort into reading or close work. This is something we may see more frequently in older students, such as teenagers, particularly these days because students can spend a lot of time up close. A lot of students can spend just a couple of hours on their cell phones alone. So difficulty converging is not so much a problem with the muscles of the eyes, it's more really a problem with the ability of the brain to coordinate the eyes in space. It's now generally recognised that this is an important skill for reading, and it's thought to affect around 5 to 10% of all students. Finally, if a student does appear to have a problem with convergence, then this is something that may be improved by holding up the reading lenses that come in the kit. So hold them in front of their eyes and try repeating the test, moving the metal wand closer towards their eyes. If this improves the convergence, this may suggest that glasses would be helpful and may also indicate that there's an underlying focusing problem associated with their difficulty converging. This brings us to the last test in the screening, which looks at whether or not words jump or move on the page. This is often referred to as visual stress. Visual stress can encompass a wide range of symptoms. However, for the purpose of this screening, I narrow it down to just one symptom, whether or not the words jump or move on the page. Now, this symptom can also occur if there is a problem with near focusing or convergence. However, if these skills appear to be normal, and this is confirmed by an optometrist, and yet the words still jump or move on the page, then this can often be resolved by using tinted lenses. In this test, the student actually will look at some age-appropriate text up close, and the student is asked, do the words jump or move on the page, or do they look perfectly still? Let me demonstrate this one for you. Jessica, I want you to look here at these small words. Can you tell me, do the words appear to jump or move on the page, or do they look perfectly still?
Perfectly still.
Great. If the student says that the words look steady, then the test is completed. If they say that the words are moving on the page, then proceed to hold up some tinted lenses in front of their eyes. Ask them whether the tinted lenses make the words look steady. Usually one of the tints will work better than the others. If the student does respond positively to the tinted lens, then you can take a little more time to explore the effect of the tinted lens by asking them to read some age-appropriate text, both with and without the tinted lens. If this does make a noticeable difference, then remember that this information can be passed on to the optometrist at the time of the referral. Another thing that can be helpful is to hold up the clear lenses, these ones here, and ask the student if this also helps stop the words moving on the page. If it does, then this suggests that the problem may in fact be more related to their near focusing. A few other points that I'd like to make about tinted lenses. Firstly, if a student responds positively to tinted lenses, this does not mean that they have dyslexia. The test that we're using here is only a test for visual stress, and the test for dyslexia is a diagnosis which is made by an educational psychologist or an educational specialist. Secondly, if words are moving on the page, this is not the same as an eye tracking problem. An eye tracking problem may occur if we jump or we skip words or lines, but the words themselves actually appear steady. The reason that the words actually move on the page once we've ruled out an underlying binocular vision problem is not that well understood, but it appears to be more at the perceptual level. Thirdly, the blue and the yellow tinted lenses used in this screening are based on the Kodak Raton filters, number 15 and 47B. These are the ones that are used by the Dyslexia Research Trust in their controlled trials. I've also included some pink tinted lenses, and that's because of my own observations. I've found that some students will actually prefer the pink over and above the yellow and the blue, and not necessarily just the girls. Finally, there's one other thing that can be helpful. It's not really a formal part of the test, but it can provide some useful additional information. Once a student has completed the test, then you can try holding the clear lenses in front of their eyes and asking the student to look out the window into the far distance, ideally more than 6 meters away, perhaps at a sign or some writing on the wall. And with the lenses in front, ask them if the writing looks blurry. If they report yes, that things are blurred, this is an indication that they probably have a relatively normal prescription. If they report that everything is still clear, this is an indication that there may be some underlying long-sightedness or hyperopia. The reason this is important is it may be one possible reason why they're experiencing a near-focusing problem. Of course, this can be confirmed on an optometry assessment. I'd like to briefly chat about referral and treatment. When it comes to referral, we offer a simple tick box referral form that goes to the optometrist. These are included in the 3-point check test kit, but copies of the form can be downloaded from my website. If a problem is identified, then it's important to refer these students to an optometrist so that they can verify that there is a near vision problem, and if necessary, correct for any refractive issues and check that the eyes are healthy. This latter point is important because it's possible that the reason for the near vision problem could be due to the early signs of some more serious medical condition. Ideally, it's good to find an optometrist in your area that is comfortable seeing children and working in this area, but keep in mind that they may need to look up my website in order to become familiar with the 3-point check test. Ideally, the optometrist would also have a kit, and this would enable them to replicate your findings. Last but not least, I'd like to briefly mention treatment. All the problems that I've discussed here can usually be resolved in a timely fashion, and the treatments that go with a 3-point check test are reasonably straightforward. They include reading lenses, tinted lenses, and simple eye exercises, really depending on the nature of the problem. Regarding the eye exercises, these usually consist of near-focusing exercises that involve looking at a distance chart and a near chart. The convergence exercises involve looking at little beads on a string, referred to the Brock string. Together, these exercises will typically go for around about 6 weeks and involve about 10 minutes of daily practice. Instructions on how to do the exercises can be found on my website, and these will usually be administered by an optometrist and then reviewed again on completion. This review is considered to be very important, and that's because these skills are so foundational. Regarding tinted lenses, these are usually a last step option and are likely to be used only for a small minority of students with learning difficulties. However, they do provide a very important therapeutic option. If tinted lenses are required, then optometrists will need to find an optical laboratory that can do the precision tinting, as not all labs are set up to do this. For optometrists who may be watching this video, then I also sell an optometrist kit, and this includes a lighter set of blue-yellow tints and also a copy of the eye exercises. So that essentially sums up the 3-point check test of near vision. If every school had a test like this, then I believe it would improve learning outcomes and save the school valuable time and money. Not every student with a learning difficulty, of course, has a vision problem, and if a problem is found with their near vision, this is likely to be relatively disruptive to their learning. So it makes sense to have a test of near vision that can identify these kinds of problems and enable a student to be referred for professional advice. Just as a student is expected to have 20/20 vision in the distance, then they should also have at least 10/10 vision up close for their near focusing and convergence, and of course the text should be steady on the page. Thanks very much for listening, and if you currently don't have a test for near vision, then I believe that you'll find the 3-point check test to be a very valuable resource for your school or learning centre.